So I've never done a debunking video before on my channel, but after I saw this video made by Screen Rant last night, I felt like doing so. Seeing how easily this video can be debunked by those just in the comments on their own, why not? Also, it's something different on the channel, so I figured why not do it anyways. But let's just go ahead and start the video now, before I ramble on for way too long than I need to.
In Dragon Ball, Goku and Krillin come across a girl who can change her personality with a sneeze. She was, of course, Launch, and was a pretty major character in the early arcs, but she totally disappeared from the timeline, save for some flashbacks in Z. So what happened to her? Akira Toriyama stated he actually forgot about her, but he has since never utilized her again. What gives? Unlike every other power in all of Dragon Ball. Another curious aspect about Launch is that her power is never really explained.
You already explained it yourself, Toriyama forgot about Launch, which is why you don't ever see her in the manga. But in the anime, she shows up a few times. Also, nobody even really cared what her quote-unquote power was in the first place.
In Dragon Ball Z, we're introduced to the androids. One of them, number 20, is actually Dr. Gero, the creator of the Red Ribbon Army and the androids themselves. You may remember the Red Ribbon Army from the original Dragon Ball sagas, but if you do, you'll remember that Dr. Gero wasn't the creator of the army or the androids. It was Dr. Flap.
Dr. Flap is an anime-only filler character, so he's not really canon to the story. The series doesn't explain who led the Red Ribbon Army first, but it's most likely Commander Red from the original Dragon Ball series, or anime series.
Part of the early lore in Dragon Ball was the fact that the Saiyans came with tails. They were removed, but it was shown that they would grow back in time. Goku's tail has grown back numerous times, and Gohan's has even come back. But as time went on, it just seems that Toriyama has forgotten about the tail thing, as Goku and Gohan's tails have stopped appearing, and we've never seen Trunks, Goten, Bula, or Pan with a tail.
Well, Akira Toriyama had stated that the Saiyan tails is a recessive trait with mixed bloods, which is why you don't ever see Pan, Goten, Trunks, or Bula have tails, because it's a recessive trait from mixed bloods of Saiyan and human, etc.
In Dragon Ball, there was a world martial arts tournament which saw the villain Piccolo grow to the size of a giant. It was quite the spectacle as there was flying and superhuman strength. But the Z Fighters stopped competing in tournaments, and this allowed for Mr. Satan to become champion by the time the Cell games happened. But no one seemed to have remembered any of the over-the-top matches from the past. Everyone thinks the videos are doctored or acts like they never witnessed the fights.
The martial arts tournament in the original Dragon Ball series was never televised, so only a selective few amount of people got to see it. The only way you were able to see it is if you were actually on the island that the World Martial Arts Tournament was at. So unless you were there, you know what happened. But because it wasn't televised, no one remembered what happened during those martial arts tournaments, because nobody saw them.
In early Dragon Ball episodes, Goku would turn into a giant ape whenever he looked at the full moon and cause insane amounts of destruction. Master Roshi decided to blow the moon up to prevent this from happening at any World Martial Arts tournament. Kami then eventually restored the moon before it was destroyed again by Piccolo. But the moon came back after that, and we have no idea how it did or who brought it back.
As you say in the video, it was probably Kami after the Saiyans were no longer a threat.
The assumption is Kami yet again, but for now, this remains a mystery. You know that really annoying moment in the Frieza saga where he states he will destroy the planet in 5 minutes only for it to take over 2 hours of show for those 5 minutes to pass? What if there's more to it than that? Time is a construct after all, and we all assumed that he meant 5 minutes of Earth time. But Frieza doesn't come from Earth. For all we know, 5 minutes on his homeworld is 2 hours on Earth, thus making his initial deadline true.
You do realize that us, the viewer, aren't watching Goku and Frieza fight in real time. So time is moving much slower because they're moving at such a fast speed, because that's how fast they are.
We all know and love the classic line, "It's over 9,000!" That was Goku's power level during the Saiyan arc, which saw Nappa and Vegeta act as villains. It was actually a mistranslation from the original version, and has since been changed in multiple Funimation dubs. But from that point on, the power levels only went up, with Frieza's being at around 1,000,000 and Goku's original Super Saiyan outmatching that. Now that we're beyond Super Saiyan Blue, the power levels are estimated to be up in the quintillions or pentillions. So how is it that a simple punch doesn't blow up an entire planet?
First off, in Daisenshi 7, it said that Frieza 100% final form, his power level was over 120 million. It was said his power level was only over 1,000,000 when he was in his second form. But the reason why Goku or Vegeta didn't blow up the planet by accident is because they suppressed their power levels enough so that way they don't do exactly that. and many other characters do the exact same thing because, they don't want to blow up the planet. Not hard to really realize.
Despite being named Dragon Ball, the series likes to play it fast and loose with the mythical items. The power of wishes and of the dragons themselves are only as strong as their makers, and we all know the Namekian creators aren't that strong. So if a whole planet can be restored, why can't the Namekians do that?
That's because they can. The new Elder on Namek says though after we meet him in the Buu Saga.
Part of the fun in the series is watching all the Z fighters train and seeing them perform their signature moves. But how much easier would things be if they taught each other their own moves? Seriously, if Goku taught everyone how to use instant transmission, things would be a little simpler.
Just because we don't see them try to learn each other's techniques doesn't mean they didn't at least try to. Whether or not they learned them or not is something else.
Vegeta started the Dragon Ball Z series off as one of the two main villains. Since then, Vegeta has slowly grown from villain to hero, but a lot of the Z fighters still showed him resentment over the years. But why? He actually didn't do anything evil. Unlike Nappa, Vegeta didn't kill anyone, didn't blow up any cities, and he's the one who ultimately killed Nappa.
Frieza is an arrogant asshole. That's how Toriyama wrote him. The others don't really resent him either. They're all clearly friends and they understand how he is and they don't really care. Also, he worked for the Frieza Force and was a part of the Saiyan race who worked for Frieza and killed innocent people for pretty much no reason other than to kill them to sell off a planet. So yeah, he did do a lot of things bad at one point in the series. We just didn't see it.
The destruction of Planet Vegeta has been a messy story in the franchise. At first, we were told by Raditz the planet was destroyed by a comet. Then it was revealed that Frieza was the one who destroyed it. When Raditz tells Goku this story, he mentions the planet was destroyed 3 years ago. But Frieza destroyed the planet the day Goku left, and Goku is 20-something by the time Frieza's arc starts. So where on earth does Raditz get 3 years from? Maybe they're Vegeta years.
It was probably just a simple mistranslation. That tends to happen when you dub anime.
When Goku escapes Namek's destruction, he tells Trunks that he found a Saiyan pod and used that to escape instead of Frieza's ship. But wait, this doesn't line up with what we saw in the past. Instead, we saw Goku watching the destruction happen from the planet. So we got two very different versions of the same event. Or maybe he just moved really fast.
It's a storytelling technique used in cliffhangers to create drama. Dragon Ball is hardly the first show to ever do this.
Towards the end of Dragon Ball Z, Kid Buu actually blows up the Earth. Vegeta and Goku ended up working on a way to get the Namekian Dragon Balls to restore Earth and its population. But why hasn't planet wishing been a thing before? Planet Namek was destroyed, Mass was Planet Vegeta, home of the Saiyans.
The Nameks decided to look for a new planet and who would wish Planet Vegeta back anyways. Saiyans were mostly evil.
When a character dies in Dragon Ball, they get sent to the spirit realm and from there, an interpretation of heaven and hell. When Goku went there, he was quickly told to train with King Kai instead of Raditz. But we also learned that Vegeta and Frieza are stronger than King Kai, so what's stopping all these dead villains from overthrowing the Kais?
Because dead people don't keep their bodies, just their souls. Only a few selective people actually get to keep their bodies. Now, the whole scene where during the Buu arc where those in hell kept their bodies, that's kind of like a kind of inconsistency in the series, but realistically only a few can actually get to keep their bodies while in Otherworld.
In Super, we learned that there are other universes living parallel to the one the main arc takes place in. But if there are all these amazing fighters out there in the multiverse, how come none of them came to Earth's aid during the Kid Buu crisis?
Why would other characters from other universes bother with something that's happening in an entirely different universe that they don't even need to be a part of? Plus, any of the Kais didn't know about other universes, and Beerus was asleep the whole time as that was happening, so why would Whis do anything in the first place, because that's not his job.
It's explicitly stated that Saiyans need oxygen to survive. Goku is given this piece of advice from King Kai as he learns that Frieza himself can survive the vacuum of space while he wouldn't. But later on, we see Vegeta transforming into a Super Saiyan on an asteroid, Goku and Beerus have a battle outside Earth's atmosphere, and Bardock fights Frieza in deep space in a movie tie-in.
Vegeta's training was anime filler only, and Goku and Bardock's feat can be explained by them not actually being in space, but still within the limits of the atmosphere, and since Saiyans are more resilient, they're able to survive a lot longer.
Super kicks off with a bang with the introduction of Beerus. He's a pretty sour individual who blows up planets when he feels just a little bit angry. He defeats Goku with relative ease and is generally seen as the most powerful being in the universe. He even stated he's the reason there's no dinosaurs on Earth. But wait, in Dragon Ball Super, we see a dinosaur chasing Trunks and Gohan. Not only that, but dinosaurs are prevalent in Dragon Ball and in Z.
Okay, fair enough. but who's to say Beerus didn't kill all of them because he possibly missed a few of them. And then because of that, after he left, they decided to start repopulating, and then that's what happened. This is a fair enough point, and I guess it is sort of a plot hole, so I guess you can have this one at least.
In Dragon Ball Z, future Trunks emerged from the hyperbolic time chamber with longer hair, while Vegeta's remains the same. Turns out the hair length of any pure-blooded Saiyan never changes. Seeing as Trunks is half Saiyan, his is free to grow out. But in Super, when Goku and Vegeta go into the time chamber, they emerge with beard.
The series nor Toriyama don't say that Saiyans can't grow facial hair.
In Super, Goku needs the power of 6 Saiyans to ascend to the level of Super Saiyan God. Thankfully, half Saiyans work in this ritual, and so does the unborn Pan. The ritual states that you need 6 righteous Saiyans to do this task, but there's just one problem. There's just no way that Vegeta counts as righteous.
Remember in the Buu arc when they wished back everybody good who was killed by Buu on Earth? Vegeta was brought back because he was finally pure of heart / righteous, quote unquote.
When Beerus lands on Earth, it doesn't take long before he completely owns Goku in their first battle. Angry that events have ruined their party, Bulma begins yelling at Beerus, only to be slapped by the god. But Bulma, who has had 0 days of combat training her whole life, somehow didn't need to go to the hospital for broken bones after getting a strong hit from a destruction god. Even luckier is that Bulma didn't just die.
Remember when we talked about Goku suppressing his power? Same thing applies here.
Dragon Ball Z ended with a peaceful saga that teased a martial arts tournament on the horizon. Then Super came along. Curiously though, it seemed to question whether or not the final moments of Z ever happened. The epilogue takes place a few years after the Majin Buu saga and sees everyone living in peace. But in Super, there's no mention of what happened to the tournament.
Dragon Ball Super takes place after the Buu arc, but takes place before the ending of Z. It's not that hard to comprehend when Dragon Ball Super takes place.
Going Super Saiyan was not something all Saiyans can do, and you had to work incredibly hard to achieve it. Vegeta's training took quite a while, and he was full of rage while doing it. But in Super, all that doesn't seem to matter when it comes to Kale, Caulifla, and Cabba. Once they learn how to transform, they not only pick it up almost immediately, but without any of the anguish and suffering that came with it. Maybe Universe 6 Saiyans are just easier.
Cabba, Caulifla, and Kale are from a different universe and evolve differently. Simple as that. And plus, there's a video made by Geekdom 101 that I would highly recommend that you go and watch, and that video will be down in the description.
Vegeta is the kind of guy who prides himself on family and legacy, but in a Dragon Ball movie, we learned that Vegeta has a brother named Torbil. You'd think that a prince who is proud of his heritage and angry that there are so few Saiyans left would have mentioned a brother before. What's even crazier is that in Super, he's entirely absent again, aside from a quick mention in Battle of God.
Vegeta just seems to think of his brother as a nuisance and a disgrace. And so he's never really mentioned again, and we never see him again. Simple as that.
One of the most well-known sagas in all of Dragon Ball is the Buu saga, and despite its epic narrative, there's one confusing plot hole in the early portions of the massive arc. Majin Buu's power consists of eating people by turning them into candy, but the show plays fast and loose with exactly who dies and who doesn't from this. Case in point, Vegito was able to retain all of his powers, but Dabura and Buu himself were not.
It's implied that Vegito's sheer power was far beyond Buu's, which made it impossible to be able to stay conscious and free to move and have all of his powers even though he was a candy.
One of the most common wishes in all of Dragon Ball history is to revive the dead, but the show is never consistent on where the revived soul goes. Sometimes they go right back to the place they died, like Vegeta on Namek, but other times King Yema's palace and an escort from Baba or Kami is the path home.
Whoever dies and gets wished back, their souls return back to where their body was. An example is when Goku first was brought back to life, during the whole Raditz fight, he was brought back in Otherworld on King Kai's planet because he was allowed to keep his body in Otherworld, so his body was then over at King Kai's planet, which is why he was still there. The same thing applies for when they had to move Krillin's soul back to Earth, because if they had revived him, he would have been brought back to where Planet Namek used to be. So yeah, as you can see, whoever wrote the script for Screen Rant's video was wrong in pretty much every single way. I looked at the comments and saw many people debunking most of the video themselves. Like I said from the start, this is different from my normal videos, but I hope you enjoyed anyways. Screen Rant, if you're gonna make a video about Dragon Ball, at least get someone who knows what they are talking about. But that's the end of the video. If you all did enjoy, leave a like and subscribe for future videos. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.